All right, my happy people, it is now that time. Welcome to part 3, the lasagna time. This is the third of the 3-part series of Grow Your Own Magic, so be sure to check out Pressures On and Pressures Off, as well as this technique works for all mushrooms, because remember, all mushrooms are magical. No contamination, it's just growing. You hear me bragging? It's because I was bragging, and to explain why is the pearly white mycelium you see growing on the corn. Remember that part from Pressures On and Pressures Off? Well, this is the mycelium at work. Once you see that there is no sign of mold, it's time to go ahead and get those monotubs ready and prepped. In order to ready the monotubs, we got to cut some holes, or I should say drill, so we need power. Grab that drill and along the perimeter, 4 fingers from the bottom, drill substrate holes 2 to 3 inches apart. Next, 3 inches above the substrate holes, drill 2 2-inch in diameter gas chamber holes. Make sure the substrate holes continue around the perimeter, as well as add 1 more gas chamber hole on either short side. Once you've brought the holiness to your monotubs, then it's time to get cleaning, because remember, this magic has to have a very sterile environment. You can clean and sterilize using rubbing alcohol or bleach or even vinegar, but also I want you to get a separate spray bottle that's clean and emptied. We're going to fill that with some distilled water for feeding, and I'll explain that later. Next, we're going to get some clean, brand new trash bags and some painter's tape, and we're going to tape over all the holes that we just drilled in our monotub. Once the holes are taped, we're going to cut up that trash bag and use it as a liner for the bottom of our monotub to hold the cake, the lasagna cake. All right, now for my next trick, I'm going to teach you how I properly pasteurize my substrates. Now, this is the method, or one of the methods I use to prepare any kind of pasteurized core, coffee substrates for any of my medicinal or edible experiments. But it can also be easily adapted to just core, vermiculite, or any kind of manure, or whatever substrate mix of preference you have. Now, in this method, you will need different ingredients for your substrate. Here, I'm using California substrate mixed with coffee grounds and vermiculite. You'll also need plastic bags, Ziploc bags that will withstand boiling temperatures. You'll also need a large pot, a pair of tongs, some distilled water, get a couple gallons because you'll need some more later for feeding, and a sous vide. I'll get to that in a second. Okay, first we have to prepare our substrate mixture. And so, as I said, I have this one as my core vermiculite and coffee ground mixture. I have to bring it to field capacity. And when I say field capacity, that means it's achieved when you're basically squeezing a handful of your mixture and only a few small drops of water drip out of your hand. So, which is kind of why I'm not listing exact measurements for ingredients, because the field capacity is what you're trying to hit. So play with it and see what you come up with till you get the right consistency. Again, when it comes to the water, use distilled water always, because it helps prevent any kind of contamination that you could experience. And you do not want to delete all the hard work that we've already done. And when it comes to the coffee grounds mixtures, I like to add somewhere around 35-40% coffee grounds into the rest of my core mixture. But up to you how you do your poo. Now, add in your bags of substrate to a water bath of 145 degrees in these Ziploc bags. Guarantees proper pasteurization, as well as just making it very sterile, eliminating all risks of contamination. And you're going to want to cook up for around an hour and a half, 90 minutes-ish, just to make sure that you've got it right. After those 90 minutes are up, you're going to take the bags out of the water bath, dry the bottom of the bags, and set them aside to cool. They must cool completely before we begin the lasagna. Now, in those clean and prepped monotubs with the trash bag liner put in, let's get to that lasagna layering. Adding the first layer is going to be an inch deep of that pasteurized substrate mixture that we just did. And after that first layer is put down, again an inch thick, then we're going to add a layer of that mycelium covered corn. And then followed by another layer of that substrate covering the corn completely. Once the lasagna is stacked below the substrate line, next it's feeding time. So grab that distilled spray bottle that we set up earlier and give this baby 1 mist, 2 mists max. Careful not to overwater. Once you have misted the magic, it's dark time for these magical little babies. And yes, your cat or dog might guard them on occasion. And while they're guarding, let them know that their shift is going to be about 5 to 7 days. Make sure you mist them every day, 1 to 2 mists a day. Once Happy Cat's shift is up, then it's time to remove all the tape from the monotub and polyfill those gas chambers. But I must warn you, this is a time when you must be careful around your furry friends.
Do you see this? Happy Cat did this. You see this? Look at this. The evidence. The evidence of the mushrooms.
Happy Cat had quite a journey that night. And that journey was documented in my latest cookbook, Delic Dishes, The Happy Chef's Guide to Cooking with Psychedelics. Long story short, the tale ended with Happy Cat gaining an IQ of 140. But even though these magical fungi are fun for us, I think we should just refrain them from our furry friends. However, if you are looking for fun ways to enjoy these magical doses, please check out Delic Dishes. There's so many delicious Delic dishes in there for you, everything from sushi to gummies. And once you're full with Delic Dishes and Edible D's deliciousness, perhaps check out Be Real TV, The Smoke Box, featuring Edible D.
Welcome to another edition of The Smoke Box. We are here.